Bryce Crittenden.
Hi, I'm Caroline Land, and welcome back to EPL's Overdue Finds.
Caroline, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, Bryce. How are you?
Excellent. I've been really looking forward to this episode that we're about to record today. This is one that when the podcast started, we talked about doing, and it just never happened, and finally, we can actually do it. Today, we are sharing some of, I guess, the odd and funny stuff that can sometimes happen working at a library, right?
Yeah, I think it's really great that we're able to do this today. We are a library podcast, so I like that we're telling some of the stories that you can only find in a library.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of our other listeners who are librarians who work in other systems, I'm sure they're going to enjoy this episode. And even those who don't work in a library, I think they'll get a kick out of today's show because we also have two awesome guests joining us today.
We do.
Joining us for the second time. She was last on our Christmas episode last year, almost like a year ago. Mm-hmm. And one of the people who does the amazing work behind the scenes on the show of editing it, Camilla Fita, welcome back.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, I was, now I'm behind the scenes. I was in front of the camera. It's not a camera, I just realized. I was in front of the microphone. And now I'm, behind the scenes, and I really like it. And I get to listen to you guys on a regular basis. And the stories that don't get into the podcast, I get to hear those too. So
we joke around maybe doing an outtakes episode at one point with some of the story, because there are things that get cut for time.
Yes.
There are things like the time I forgot my name mid-introduction. Right. So the stuff that doesn't get left in, I think is good. But I just want to give a shout out to our amazing editors on this podcast. They do such fantastic work. Thank you, Camilla.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's really fun.
Yeah.
And also joining us today for the very first time, librarian Sheila Laroque. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's really good to be here and see how you do your podcast. So
That's right, because you have your own podcast.
Yes, I'm a co-host on a podcast called Book Women. We just wrapped up our first season. We do it in seasons. So all about Indigenous publishing. I co-host that with Tanya Ball and Kayla Larson. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, you guys are really fancy.
Not really.
There's no res dogs in the background. This is pretty good.
So we'll have a link to your podcast in the show notes and the list of items that we talk about today. You were also involved with LitFest this year through the podcast.
Yes, yeah. It was a really good kind of serendipitous moment. We worked through with the Writers Guild of Alberta for our podcast, and they were involved with LitFest, which is Canada's original nonfiction
festival.
Yeah. So they asked us, one of the new things that they were doing was an author pods kind of pre-festival warm-up event series. So we got to chat with Rick Harp, who is the founder of Media Indigena, which was really cool, and chat with our old buddy Rick Harp, which is pretty amazing. And then we were also able to we hosted two panel discussions. So one with Jesse Thistle, who is the author of From the Ashes. The way he describes it is his collection of his 4 steps from his process in getting sober. The 4th step in AA is you atone for what you did, and you write it out, and you make amends. We hosted a discussion with that, and then we also were able to host a panel discussion afterwards with Jesse, Suzanne Maythot, who wrote Legacy, about intergenerational trauma, and Anahid Dashgard, who wrote Breaking the Ocean. So that's what I've been reading lately. Yeah. So it was really good book-filled October. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, what a wonderful opportunity to be part of that.
Yeah, it was great. So, and just to see how much Edmonton embraces nonfiction as a city, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it LitFest is a very neat festival because it is there's this such a wide variety of topics, of writers, people with journalistic backgrounds, people writing personal memoirs, family histories, incredible accounts. It's a very neat festival, and as you said, their tagline is Canada's original nonfiction festival. I think it was the first one in Canada.
Well, it's great hearing about that festival, and I had no idea that it was Canada's original nonfiction festival. But today, obviously, we are talking about hilarious stuff that happens in the library, and Sheila and Camilla, you're both here because we'd reached out to EPL staff, and they shared some amazing stories, and you both had some of my favorite stories, and we're going to share them in a little bit. But first, we're going to chat about our overdue finds. So Sheila, since it's your first time on the show, what have you been enjoying lately?
I've been reading Maiden, Mother, and Crone, which is short stories edited by Gwen Benaway. It's a collection of science fiction works, all kind of featuring trans femme heroines in some sort of way. So yeah, I'm on the wait list for her Giller Prize-winning poetry book, so I thought I would read this in the meantime and write about it later.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this is not a visual media, although, as you say, with the camera, I'm usually happy it's not. But you have a copy of the book here, and the cover is gorgeous.
Yes.
And so I encourage everyone to go out and take a look.
Yeah.
And you can't judge a book by its cover, but this one's gorgeous.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm terrible because I do judge books by their covers.
Let's be honest.
I really do. Maybe it's just the marketer in me, but I find it's really important. If you're releasing a book, you better be on your A game with your cover. And this is amazing. Obviously, we'll have a link to it in our show notes anyway. But yeah, you can borrow this book from our library. Right now. Camilla, what have you been reading? You kind of gave us a heads up on this, and I'm curious to see where you're going to go with it.
So in the spirit of nonfiction, I'm a huge nonfiction reader, and lately I've been getting into kind of medical history, like history of medicine and how it's developed and all the kind of kooky things that like doctors in the past would do. But this one is called How the Brain Lost Its Mind, and it's by Dr. Alan H. Roper, who's a neurologist, and Brian David Burrell. And it initially looks at the development, spread, and treatment of syphilis. So stay with me. And specifically neurosyphilis. So how syphilis affected the brain and how that resulted in kind of mental health disorders and people kind of went quote unquote mad. But it also looks at the concept of brain-based mental disorders and kind of outlines and asks the question that do we really know the difference between a sick brain and a sick mind? So kind of mental disorders that result of actual issues with the physical brain, like lesions and in this case syphilis, versus just in the mind and what that means. So as it goes along that history, it touches on hysteria, hypnotism, psychoanalysis, sensation fiction, and the trope of genius versus madness. It's super interesting. It's very wide ranging. If you're interested in that, if you want to feel superior of like over historical, like doctors from the 17th and 18th century, definitely read it because they had some kooky ideas. And of course we look back with hindsight and think, why would they ever think that? But they just didn't have the technology we had. So
it sounds really interesting. Does it get like really, I guess, technical as far as, we're talking about, science and that sort of thing?
Actually it doesn't as much. It goes more in kind of the social aspects of wanting to treat kind of mental illnesses and what doctors were trying to do in the time and how they were trying to categorize things and collect information and kind of what was being presented, especially in kind of mental asylums. So yeah, it definitely doesn't go into, it's more the historical and the social aspects of it. So if you're kind of science phobic of, like really technical things, like mitochondria is like the cell, like all that stuff, which I don't know. It doesn't do that.
Very neat.
Caroline, do you have something to chat about along the same lines?
No, not at all. My overdue find is the 2000 Disney animated movie, The Emperor's New Groove, which is a bit A bit different, but I like that, we have different topics. It is, as I say, a Disney animated movie from 2000. I had never seen it. It came up in conversation, and the person I was with reacted kind of like, oh, you have to watch it. So I watched it as recently as last night, so I'm still kind of digesting it. But it has the voices of David Spade, John Goodman, Wendy Malick, Patrick Warburton, and Eartha Kitt, who is very Eartha Kitt in it, and it's great. It's about Emperor Kuzco, who's very selfish, very self-absorbed. He wants to build a place called Kuzcotopia that is basically just a big water slide for himself and he wants to do it on the top of a mountain that is home to a villager, voiced by John Goodman. The emperor, voiced by David Spade, gets turned into a llama by Eartha Kitt because she wants his power and to take over in this. And you think it's going to be a story about him learning a lesson so he can change back. It's not really that at all. Like, he does learn, there's a bit of a transformation, but it's really just more of like a straightforward quest story. And what I kind of liked about it for a Disney movie, there was no romance plot. John Goodman's character is married, has kids, has a happy family life, but there's no female llama that David Spade falls in love with or anything like that. And it's just kind of this story about working together with other people, getting a bigger view of yourself, understanding how your actions affect other people, and don't make Eartha Kitt angry is some of the lessons. So I still need to do a bit of, with any kind of Disney property, there's a lot to unpack in terms of like cultural pieces around it. So I only watched it last night. I'm still going to think on it, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's available in our collection.
Very cool. Does he get a new groove, or is that more metaphorical?
It's the groove comes up a lot.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
They do talk about the groove a lot. I will say it's not an adaptation of The Emperor's New Clothes. People kind of, I guess, make that association because of the structure of the title. But yeah, I would definitely say that groove plays a big part in the story.
For sure.
I also, just before we hear your Overdue find, Bryce, I want to mention that Wabagijig Rice, who is the author of Moon of the Crusted Snow, which was one of my Overdue finds from a couple episodes ago, he recently won the 2019 Evergreen Award for the Moon of the Crusted Snow, which is an award from the Ontario Library Association, and it's voted on from readers from over 100 libraries in Ontario. So I was excited to see that and wanted to mention that again.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
He's busy. He's very busy.
Yeah.
He's very busy.
He's
but
like, I want to hear this funny staff stories episode of Overdue Finds.
Yeah, but he's very busy. But if you haven't checked out the book, again, we have it in our collection here at EPL.
So my pick this week, it's funny because I'm almost still on Halloween mode a little bit, and I really wish I would have brought this up in our recent horror movies episode. It's a movie that you can borrow here at the library. It's called Train to Busan. It's a Korean film, and basically it's about this dad. He's a divorced dad, and he has to take his young daughter to back to his mom, who lives in Busan. So they're in South Korea. And when they're on the train, basically a zombie outbreak breaks out. Everybody's going nuts. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of Snowpiercer in a way, just because you have this movie, they're trapped on this train. But if it's just a really, you have to really pretty much be into zombie movies, I think, to mostly enjoy it. But if you like that genre and you like just horror movies in general, and you're looking for something a little bit different that's not kind of as mainstream, Train to Busan is a real eye opener, and it's one I think you should check out before essentially it gets remade into something called like Train to New York or Train to Chicago or something along those lines. And I'm sure most of our listeners would do this anyway, but if you get a chance and you are watching it, watch it with the subtitles. Don't watch like the English dubbed version. It's just read the subtitles. And besides, there's not as much dialogue in it anyway. Mostly just killing of zombies and other people.
Nice.
And yeah.
Have you ever done, Bryce, the watching 31 horror movies in October?
No,
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose. No, you know what? I've thought about doing it a few times and just have never gotten around to it. October's a problem for me just because hockey season starts back up, and as Cheryl jokes around, the only thing that's on TV in our house is like hockey and Family Guy. So yeah. It'd be hard to I think watch 31 horror movies in October.
Yeah, they could play them at the hockey game.
They could.
Yeah.
I'm picturing some kind of crossover.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, Friday the 13th, Jason wears the goalie mask. So
Right.
there we go.
Classic.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, or you could write a hockey horror film or story.
Good, yeah.
Just
absolutely.
combine those two.
NaNoWriMo from our
Yes.
last episode. Yeah. All right, so as we mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to be doing something a little bit different today and give you a sneak peek behind the scenes here at EPL. In the past, we've talked about how there's still that stigma that everyone is supposed to be silent and, the library is a place to just come in and read and be as quiet as humanly possible. But as the only non-librarian here, is it safe to assume that no one day is like another working in a library?
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. It's open to the public, of course. So we get, people from all walks of life and everyone coming, and that's what makes the job so great. That every day isn't like the other, and it's not predictable. So that's what I enjoy about it.
Yeah, I would agree that I just want to go back and just clarify that's Bryce's statement that we're not about silent spaces. There is fun in the library. You can do more than just come in and read. You can of course come in and read. We do have books. We do have chairs. You're welcome to sit down and read. We encourage it, but it is very different moment to moment, day to day, because people come in wanting to do so many different things in the space. And I've talked before on the podcast about the importance of the library being a space where you can go and you don't have to buy your way in. You don't have to keep buying coffees to stay here and to claim a chair. It's a place where you can just be, and what that looks like from day to day can be a lot of different things.
I don't want to give the same answer talking about how different it is. But yes, I've worked in a lot of different libraries across Canada, and I'm a recovering academic myself. So I have worked in those libraries where I have been shushed and I have been in trouble from researchers and students that I'm too loud doing my job.
Yeah, I've also been shushed by customers in the library while I was giving a tour once. I just got really excited about it, and they came over and it's like, do you know how loud you are?
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you pull do you know who I am?
They didn't, but that was okay because I wanted them to feel
Of
comfortable
course,
as
yeah.
well, and understanding that, we're all together in this public space. That doesn't mean it's going to be 100% silent or I'm going to be really loud. So understanding how we can work together, but I kept doing the tour.
It's really interesting to hear a lot of these stories from staff, and we're going to share a lot of those today. And Caroline, a couple months ago, we had posted a thing on our kind of internal website to staff, and we were like, hey, we're thinking about doing this episode of Overdue Finds, and we want to hear some of your funny stories, just maybe odd stuff that happens behind the scenes that maybe the public wouldn't know about. So you have a story to share with us.
We got some amazing stories from staff, and there were a couple great ones involving animals. So this is from Angela Liu, who shared, someone picked up a stray cat and tried to convince us to let it live in the library at Highlands. We named it Karen after a staff member there, and I drove it to the animal control on my lunch break. Camilla, you shared with us one about a certain type of reptile.
I did, yeah. So this actually started, I want to say it was probably my first week starting at EPL in my current position. So I don't remember the details because I was just so overwhelmed with new job things that I just filed this into I'll think about it later, but I still remember it. We had someone actually left their snake or a snake, I don't know if it was theirs, in the library. They left it in like a bag. It was sort of like a pillowcase type kind of canvas bag. It didn't escape, thankfully, but I believe it stayed overnight. From what I'm able to gather, I was kind of talking with coworkers. Our day porter in the morning saw it. It was by the fireplace, which we think maybe the person, felt kind of couldn't take care of the snake, but wanted it to have a good home, so left it where it was somewhere warm. But we turn off the fireplace overnight, so I don't know. But yeah, our day porter lifted the bag up, thinking, oh, someone left something, and it started to move. And they peered in, and sure enough, it was a snake. I believe animal control was called. It was dealt with quite quickly. But I just remember from that time, I had so many things that I was learning, new passwords, reading new policies, getting to know my colleagues. And then I just kind of heard oh yeah, and we found a snake. And I was like, you know what, I'll just kind of not take that on. I'll just kind of put it aside and think about it later, versus now if that happened, I'd be talking about it every day.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions about the snake. So was it was it like a really large snake, like a python or boa constrictor?
No, I don't think so. From what I was able to gather, it was, I guess, imagine a standard pillowcase and what a snake could fit in there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when you say this, I'm going to reference pro wrestling, because I haven't done it in a few episodes now. Yeah. But I'm thinking Jake the Snake Roberts,
right.
this whole thing. Sheila, you're
Totally, yeah, that's what came to my mind.
I just picture because he would go down in the ring, he'd have this large canvas bag, and for his snake Damien, and Damien was this large python, I believe. So that's what I'm picturing in this.
He scared me as a kid.
Oh yeah, he still scares me.
Did Jake the Snake ever go to the library?
I doubt
Was
it.
that ever part of the footage?
No,
okay.
definitely. Yeah, the snake would only appear after he would beat his opponent, and then he would wrap the boa constrictor around the guy's head.
It's a finishing
around
move.
the other guy.
Yeah.
So it's it was used as a weapon, not just an animal.
After the match, yeah.
Not just an animal friend.
No, not like a Britney Spears
Except
kind of
no,
thing.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's like a finishing move.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
So lesson learned. We love it when everybody comes in, but maybe keep the snakes at home.
Yeah, or I mean, if you can't take, because I don't think anyone came back for it. I left my snake. So I think it might have been kind of a really difficult decision maybe, and they had to leave it somewhere, hopefully to, go to a new home. But in that case, I would say maybe just go straight to animal control or the SPCA. I think they're better suited to helping.
Well, I think that probably says a lot too about the library. They're
maybe,
these are awesome people who work here. They're not going to judge me. I can probably leave it here over by the fireplace. Somebody will see it and take care of it for me.
Yes, that's what maybe that's what happened.
Since we've moved into the new Capilano Library, which is next to the Fulton Ravine, so we're very close to nature, we have these beautiful windows there where you can look out and see all kinds of birds and animals and different things. My question has become... inside or outside? When someone tells me they see something, I just saw a really big dog. Inside or outside? And this summer, during the summer reading club, during summer starts at EPL, we had a program where there was a visiting porcupine in the library. And so a staff member came all excited into the bag saying, "There's a porcupine out there." And my answer is, inside or outside? And she was like, inside. And I was expected or unexpected? And it was an expected porcupine that we all enjoyed.
Yeah.
Very,
yeah.
very important to know that in the story.
My reaction is going to be different based on the answers to those questions.
But I bet the kids loved the porcupine, though. I heard about that program.
The porcupine was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, and we still, so shout out to the old children's library at the Stanley A. Milner branch, which did used to have, I think, a
petting zoo?
There were animals. There were, I hear a lot about an iguana of some kind. None of us grew up here.
I did, but my mom was
except
like,
Camilla.
No, we're still, I grew up in around Idlewild, and I think my mom was like, that's fine. That's the library you'll go to. We won't go to the big one.
Yeah, but if you have memories of the animal animals in the children's library, please share them with us.
Yeah.
When I worked in the children's library, about at least once a week, somebody would come in and tell us about their memories of the animals.
That's awesome.
That's nice.
We need to, I joked around, I think it was on our episode with our CEO, Pilar Martinez, that we need to have more dog-based programming here at the library. Yeah, bring more dogs into the library. So, you mentioned obviously the Summer Reading Club featuring kids, and some of my favorite stories I heard from staff involved kids and just how maybe blunt and very honest they are with some of our staff. So, Sheila, you shared a couple stories with us, and I think you need to share them with listeners because they're amazing.
Oh, yeah. So I started in the library world in Saskatoon. That's where I'm from. So Saskatoon Public Library was my first foray into library land. And I used to work in our children's department at the Francis Morrison Library downtown.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, honestly, shout out to them. Hi, everyone. So we had our story times 4 times a week. So it would have been either a Tuesday or a Thursday after 10:30. I'm working the desk. I'm checking out books, and mid-morning, high nap time, and someone is just. One child is just very, like, crying and sad and, like, upset and just, like, not having a good time. And I'm trying to, like, smile through this and, like, smile and be reassuring to the child and their parent and trying to be, like, a nice, friendly person despite all of the screaming and crying going on around me. And then, and I'm checking out their books and I'm checking out their things. I'm trying to do it, like, fast. To make the day better for them and me. But then the child was, like, so upset and was like, this lady, like, keeps smiling at me. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is, like, an inconsolable child. Nothing will make it better. Like, all right. Like, all right. Like, and the parent was just like, yeah, it's, like, gave me this look on their face of, like, yeah, like, sorry, there's nothing.
It's
like,
nothing personal.
Yeah, like, it is nap time. And I was like, that is, like, clear. And so we also used to, like, I also used to do storytime programming there. I guess I got, like, a little too comfortable with my go-to stories. And one of my favorite ones, and it still is, and I still will stand by it, is A Shark in the Park by Nick Sherratt. It's awesome. It rhymes. There's a shark in the park.
Oh,
I'm on board.
Yeah.
Like,
get
I'm
into
booked.
it. Like, you have to look through a telescope, and you can, like, make the hand gestures of, like, looking through the telescope with the kids. You look up and down. You look all around. Anyway, it's a fun time. And apparently I had done it one too many times because the beautiful thing about doing a story time is that you get instant feedback from children. And they don't have the same filter as adults do, right? And he said to his mom, he was at the back, I could tell, and then he said to his mom, like, this lady's done this story before. She's so boring. I was like, ugh. And then, you're up there trying to read the story and, like, hearing that you're boring.
Your heart is just breaking, but you keep that smile on.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, what can we do, like, other than, like...
Was there a part of you then who just, like, you felt like I gotta step this up, or did it throw you off your game a little bit?
I have experience, like, with, like, drama and theater, so no, I kept going, but I was like, did I ever bring that into my story, back into Pooh Corner? Absolutely not. I kept that book out of there. But actually Jim, who I believe still works at Children's in Saskatoon, the best career advice that he gave me was, don't be afraid to look stupid. And I was like, okay, like, now that I...
Check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And now that, like, I've kind of, like, gotten over, like, looking stupid, I can do a lot more. So yeah, that's you learn to get over that very quickly when you're working with kids.
I imagine it's almost like having sometimes Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets just kind of off to the side, maybe saying something a little too blunt about your reading or whatever. And,
it's this sucks.
Kids are definitely good reality checks. Like they'll just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Like, noted. Thank you.
Yeah,
small
yeah,
child.
exactly.
I remember when I was doing a story time once, there was a child, and I was reading the book, Where is the Green Sheep? And there was a little boy at the back. Spoilers for Where is the Green Sheep?
Spoiler alert!
And he just very calmly said, I know how books work. It's going to be on the last page. And it is. And I was more amazed. He wasn't trying to be disruptive.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to ruin the book for everyone. He just knew how those books worked.
That's
which
great.
is that it's going to be at the end. So I was like, okay, and you use let's find out. But I was really impressed by that.
I think that's an indicator that, probably his parents and, read those storybooks, because they do follow a rhythm and a pattern, but you don't know that. You're not born with that knowledge.
There's going to be a couple fake outs before you get to the green sheep.
So he definitely knows his tropes, which is great. Yeah. Maybe he grew up to become a book reviewer. I know how this ends.
It's watching a movie. He's like, the hero's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. We have another hour to go.
Our colleague Mike Eaton shared a story about being spotted outside of the branch by one of his Storytime regulars, and I wanted to share that story. So he says, when I was in LA at Woodcroft a number of years ago, I was known as Mr. Mike by our loyal Storytime children. At that time, I also happened to live in the Westmount area. One day, my wife and I were at Safeway buying groceries, and in the next aisle, I heard a young child's voice loudly exclaim, "Mom! Mr. Mike is at Safeway too! We should go say hi!" My wife, of course, rolled her eyes and laughed, and I went over to the aisle to say hello to my friend and explain to him why I wasn't at work at that particular moment. Has anyone else had any kids excited to see you while you've been out in public?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's some kids that I work with that if I see them kind of in the neighborhood, they see me and I get to chat with their parents. I think that's also such a great thing about working at the library. I mean, we're really part of the community, especially if you live, if a staff member lives in the neighborhood of the branch they work at. That's not always the case. But yeah, I think that's a really great plus to working at the community that, you get to kind of build that community outside of the library.
You see this sometimes too. You've done probably a number of school visits, and then when the kids come into the library and recognize you from being in their classroom, and then they tell their parent or caregiver, like, she was at my school, and it's like, I know her, and that's really exciting to see. We tell in the summer we hire summer programmers to go out and do the school promotion for the summer reading club, be at the Green Shacks, they're at daycares a lot of the time, and we tell them in their training to you're going to be a celebrity. You're going to be a local celebrity that the kids are going to get excited about, so get ready. Your life is going to change.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I'm currently doing school outreach visits, so I can't wait to get library famous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was in Saskatoon, because that's where I'm from, and that's where I lived forever, and I have a big family, so I got big family privilege. So I would all my story times, I would tell all my cousins hey, I'm gonna be doing story time at this time, and so they would all come, and my stats for story times would be way up. I was like, I don't know.
Smash hit. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'm a superstar, but obviously then it's really cool when they start bringing their kids and stuff too, and then they ask you questions oh, are you really Tally and Dana's cousin? I'm like, yeah, for
real.
I really am their cousin. And like, oh, do you really work in a tree? Because like the story time like there is it's based on the story of like the original like the house at Pooh Corner.
Nice.
Inside so there is you go like the children's story time is called Pooh Corner, and like you do go inside a tree. And I was like, yeah, like look, I work inside a tree.
Isn't this awesome?
This is pretty cool.
Most kids probably just think you live in there.
Yeah. But yeah, so pretty neat. I wish I still worked inside a tree. I think that'd be cool. But yeah.
I'm originally from Ontario, and so when I moved here to Edmonton, for a very long time, I would make the assumption that when I went out in public, no one was going to know who I was. Oh. And that lasted for a long time until like one day I was going to the grocery store, and I was recognized by a family that I had gotten to know at the library, and found out that they lived in my same neighborhood, which was wonderful to see them. It was lovely, except I had dressed like I was not going to run into anyone I know. So my hair, probably hadn't brushed it. I was wearing like my couple steps lower than casual clothes, and then so since then it's not that I dress up now in like full dress to go whenever I step out into public, but that kind of caught me up on the maybe people are gonna know who you are. Like you're gonna run, and you can't pretend that you're.
Have to start wearing like a hat and sunglasses.
Yeah, right.
So just keep those on if you go to Safeway to pick something up. But
has anyone recognized you, Bryce?
No. Well, actually, you know what? That's not true. Since starting the podcast, nobody in public has really ever come up to me. The last few speaker series events, because obviously I help organize those and run those events. And I have my name tag on. So I have overheard a couple people say like, oh, that's the guy from the podcast.
Oh, nice.
Or I also had a lady who came up to me, and she was talking about our romance novels episode, and how I was talking about how I didn't think a lot of guys read romance novels, obviously. And she came up to me and she's like, hey, I just want to tell you that from your romance novels episode, there's actually quite a few men who do read romance novels. In fact, my husband reads romance novels, and he quite enjoys them. And I was like, that's awesome. Thank you for listening. So, just a couple times just at those events, only because I have my name tag on.
Right. Oh, it's not by voice? Like, no one looks up like, oh, I know that voice.
Is he talking about an overdue fly? What's going on?
I think the takeaway there is that you need to wear your name tag more often.
Yes.
Just like emblazon your name. Get a jersey with it on the back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway there.
So one of our former guests, Laura Young, she shared a story about a pop-up wedding at our Castle Downs branch, which I thought this story was amazing. So Laura said, we had an impromptu wedding in the program room at Castle Downs. She goes, I think it was around 2010. The couple wanted to get married by the lake, but it rained. So the justice, who had previously worked for EPL, brought them into the library. We quickly decorated the program room and grabbed some classical music, and they had their wedding. What a great story.
I love that story.
So I guess my question for everyone here is, have you ever experienced anything like this before in your branch? Or even something similar, like maybe a proposal, or maybe you've noticed somebody's clearly on a date or something like that?
I think it was at the Rusty McDonald branch. Either Rusty McDonald or Cliff Wright. But yeah, we definitely, like, I remember I was there when they were, like, came in to do the booking of, like, oh, they wanted to, like, book the program room for their wedding. And it was, like, really, like, cute and, like, lovely. And then I think I was back there when it actually, like, did happen. And, like, yeah, it was, like, so lovely to see, like, nerds in love. It was, like, yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if they had like those walkthroughs, but all their friends are holding books, and then they kind of run under.
I love that idea.
Yeah. You're free to use it.
Yeah. When I worked at the downtown library, we would occasionally on like Saturday afternoons see wedding parties come in and do some photo shoots.
Yes.
And it was always interesting. I'm so intrigued by photography and the eye of the photographer, because I remember a bunch of them standing on the stairs at the old at the former Stanley Milner Library before the renovation, going up between the first and second floor in the stairwell. There was a large painting, piece of art hanging kind of as you went down the stairs, and they were all lined up, and from the angle that I was looking at, I was like, what backdrop are you're the workroom, like doors, stairs, like this is the look you want. But when I kind of came around and like looked more at the angle the photographer was at, it was framed perfectly by this piece of art.
Nice.
And it was just lovely. And I've seen a couple there. I know that there are other. It's kind of common for librarians to do wedding shoots in libraries as well, but kind of coming in and seeing that excitement of the wedding day with the dresses and the looks and the excitement is just really great.
That's cool.
Have any of you ever got thrown off by a reference question? Because we heard from a colleague, former guest on the show, Vicky Varga, who shared this story. The very first reference question I was asked as a very eager 18-year-old circulation assistant who so badly wanted to be great at the job was, do you have any books on Greece? I was slightly surprised initially and asked for clarification. What kind of grease? Cooking grease? Engine grease? The kid looked at me and said, no, the country. Chagrined, I looked up the Dewey number and took him into the stacks.
I can't remember any specific reference questions, but I definitely recognize that desire to help, and then you jump to conclusions and make assumptions, which, when we learn about reference questions and learn about how to help people, that's probably rule number one, like don't do that. But yeah, you want to be so helpful, and so you want to like anticipate their needs. And yeah, I could totally see myself being like, ooh, what kind of green? Well, we've got coconut. We can look at cooking. Like what?
Yeah.
I used to, when I went to library school, I went to the University of Toronto, and I worked at the at Robarts, like reference and research services, for 2 years. That was my job, was like being reference assistant to the biggest library in Canada, which also where it is in Toronto, like is in close proximity to Queen's Park, which is like the Ontario provincial government, as well as like, where two subway lines intersect. So we get a lot of questions from the public as well. And
that could be a whole episode.
Yeah, when you say reference, like I will say I do have a lot of stories that it could be a whole episode, but I will say like we were trained so well because you can't just say like, oh, sorry, I don't know. They're like,
of course.
We're the number one university in Canada, so you have to know when someone comes up to you and asks, like, so at the beginning, when I first, like, after, like, this month of training that they did, like, I felt like, okay, like, oh, I don't know anything. Yeah. Like, I thought I was really smart. Like, that's why I came here. Like, that's why I want to be a librarian. And, but then at the end, like, after, like, 2 years, I was like, okay, like, I can answer most questions, or I know who to refer you to for further
help to find them.
Yeah. So, it was a lot of interesting folks doing interesting things. And especially like the people, like the baby lawyers coming in from Queen's Park who'd be like, oh, like, it's for the minister, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is not the law firm. Like, you can't tell me to go faster. Like, I will help you, but, like, you have to be nice to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not on retainer, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
just to give you an indication of how little coffee I've had, when you said baby lawyers, mine went straight to little babies with little suitcases and wearing little...
Well, I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, just learning how to walk.
Another element with the reference question is you want to approach it as an actual question.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was originally starting at EPL and we were doing the Ask a Question service or something like the chat reference that you can use on our website, sometimes people would write things like, what is sex, or something like that, and there's a temptation to be like, oh, this is a prank, this is a crank, call
Text
it might
message.
be text message on there, but you get in the habit of approaching it as a serious question because it could be, and you don't want to make someone feel self-conscious for asking that. And Tangrea Copeland, who works at EPL, has another story. I had a customer call to ask me what a bidet was. I was unsure if it was a prank call, and I didn't think it was the best thing to describe at the front desk. So I placed the customer on hold, went to the back room, and looked up the dictionary definition for him. His response: "Thank you so much. I keep seeing the word in my book, and I didn't know what it was."
Perfect example of that.
So there you go.
I always make the joke when I kind of talk about the library and do kind of presentations and share library resources and services to people out in the community. I always end with this total dad joke. I do say that the library was Google before there was Google, because we really were, and we still are. There are people that either don't have access to Google or don't want to, or they want more detail. They want that kind of personalized service of talking with someone and getting resources and knowing they're getting the most kind of correct and up to date. So
I can imagine working out of a library that there's quite a bit of food accidentally left all around the branch. So former guest Nancy Shang shared a great story with us regarding a gift from a customer. So Nancy said, "I once found a bag of potatoes on my desk. They were so fresh from the earth, they still had dirt on them. What does this mean? I wondered to myself, is it a potato fairy? Is it a threat? Is it a comment on my laziness?" Turns out it was a customer I'd helped the day before who was so happy that he came by and dropped off potatoes that he dug that morning from his garden. Every time I saw this gentleman in the branch from then on, he would ask if I needed more potatoes. So basically, if you ever need a potato hookup, I've got the guy for you.
that's
So sweet.
I thought that was an amazing story. And obviously Nancy had helped somebody out, and this gentleman felt compelled that, to bring in this amazing gift
Fresh
for
potatoes.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Fresh potatoes. Do any of you have any kind of food related stories or maybe even mishaps at the library you can share?
Definitely, like at Whitewood Crossing, we have some great customers that in wanting to say thank you, usually kind of parents that bring their children to our programming. They do, especially around this time of year as we're getting close to kind of the Christmas season, will give us baked goods, cookies, donuts, which I am all for, so we come into the
Highly
lunchroom
encouraged.
and there's a beautiful card there expressing thanks with some great treats, and it's just so sweet, and you really see kind of the impact that our staff have on people's lives, that they're willing to say thank you through baked goods. And okay. Potatoes would be fine too. Any produce from the garden, I'm fine with.
Oh, I got,
Sheila?
oh yeah. At U of T, oh yeah, because the Starbucks at the bottom of Robarts is also like the busiest Starbucks in Canada. And because people come and there's so much pressure in an academic environment, especially for students and in any post-secondary, and then I just felt I felt it so much more at U of T. And so when you help someone just the way I thought of myself was an academic cheerleader, of you could do it. And I don't they come in with this energy about them of this frazzled, stressed, and I can't and they're speaking very quickly and and I don't respond well to that type of energy. So whenever someone would come in to my desk and talk to me like that, I would just be okay, we're gonna do this, but we're gonna breathe first. And because I don't and also it gave me a chance for my gears to start thinking. So I was I would make people take 3 deep breaths and then okay, now we're gonna start. and like, you're in the right place. I'm gonna help you, but we're gonna breathe first. And so I got lots of coffee bottles like all the time. Yeah. So yeah, which is like pretty nice. But I was like, people would ask me like what I wanted. I was like, well, like I'm literally being paid to help you. Like, and it's okay. You don't have to, but also if you're gonna get an Americano, like, that would be lovely.
I'll take a venti, please.
Yeah.
As someone who did their undergraduate at the University of Toronto, if you had been there when I was, I probably would have spent more time studying at Robarts.
Yeah.
I just went in, got my books, and got out of there. So it was a very intimidating place.
It is. And here I am, just this like small girl from a small town, like, don't worry, we could get through this together. And like, people really liked me.
Yeah. We don't want to encourage any of our customers to do this, but sometimes we get books back in rather interesting conditions. I love this story. Former guest Alison De Silva let us know that we once received a copy of Jamie Oliver's Food Escapes back with Gordon Ramsay's face photoshopped over Jamie Oliver.
It's amazing. And actually, when this episode comes out, we'll tweet a picture of that so people can see it.
It's just, I just love that. Another great one has to be from Dorothy Hamilton, who works at the Capilano Library. I had a very apologetic customer return the book Dog Training 101, absolutely shredded and covered with bite marks from her new puppy, who clearly wanted to give it a bad review. Like, that's just so classic. Like, that sounds like a joke setup, but these types of things actually happen. Has anyone else experienced any funny returns?
No, I don't think so. But people I know are very, very, very respectful of our items. I know when they come back and they see even just like a small rip or something, they come to the desk and say, either I noticed this, or I'm sorry, like my child did this, and it's the tiniest rip. And I'm like, honestly, they are well loved, well used items. So the kind of the tiniest damage, it's natural wear and tear. But in talking with customers, people are super respectful of our items, and it's great to see.
I think we had actually tweeted out from EPL's account about the dog book, and it just kind of blew up for a little bit that day. And it's it's so perfect, I thought.
Right?
Dog Training 101. So I just wanted to share a quick story from marketing, actually. We've talked a lot about behind the scenes of the branch, but I want to share a quick story about kind of a little mishap that happened in EPL marketing not that long ago.
A behind the scenes of behind the scenes.
That's right, yeah, absolutely. So this was, I want to say almost 2 years ago now. So give you a little bit of backstory. In marketing, typically we kind of help with the grand openings. We'll do like a grand opening celebration. We kind of send out invites to community groups and all this fun stuff, and we get everything all planned and promoted for when the branch is open. So we were getting ready for the grand opening celebration for our brand new Heritage Valley location. Basically, we work with a purchasing department here, and we ordered some confetti guns for the grand opening celebration. So keep in mind, too, with this grand opening, we invited city councilors, library board members, and other community partners, like maybe from community leagues. So these confetti guns come into the office, and shout out to former guest Marina Fernandez, because this happened to her. So we get the confetti guns. Marina takes one out of the box and wants to make sure that they work okay. So they try it, and they notice that the confetti is in a little bit of an odd shape. So upon further inspection, they notice that the confetti is in the shape of a penis. So they take a look at the packaging a little bit closer and notice that the confetti guns are meant for bachelorette parties. Right. Yes. When purchasing ordered these, they had no idea. And I mean, it's not a knock against purchasing. They just probably ordered said confetti gun.
There's probably a big market out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
The percentage of the confetti gun market for bachelorette parties is probably a large one.
Absolutely. Of course, in marketing, we had lots of laughs about it. And over the next few months, you would occasionally be walking around and see the odd penis-shaped confetti all around the office.
Because confetti is very much like glitter. Like once it's out there.
It's
Absolutely.
out there. Yeah. That's so funny. I mean, thankful. I'm sure now you guys test all of your confetti guns to see what shape it is exactly.
But yeah, we just kind of thought, we laughed like, oh, that would be just fantastic. You know, city councilors are there and they're firing off.
Fly through the air.
Yeah, so it can happen to all of us.
Yes. That's funny.
So before we get to our roundtable questions, Bryce, what is coming up in our next episode?
You're in for a treat next episode. Caroline, I know that you are so excited about this one.
I am.
I think you mentioned this to me shortly after you started on the show, and you're like, when Christmas rolls around, we must do this.
I put it on the schedule. We usually brainstorm topics for what we're going to do. We make a plan collaboratively. This one, I just went ahead and wrote it on the schedule and hoped everyone was okay with it.
So we are going to be sharing and talking about some of our own favorite versions of A Christmas Carol. Caroline, off the top of my head, I know of one for a fact that you will be bringing up on the show.
Yes.
So we have some special guests joining us from the Citadel Theatre's new production of A Christmas Carol. We have actors Julien Arnold, who plays Marley, and Belinda Cornish, who plays Hilda Fezziwig. We're excited to hear about their favorite versions of A Christmas Carol and how this year's production at the Citadel is going to be different than previous years. Yeah. I'm looking forward to having them come in the studio and chatting with us.
Yes. Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting perspective because we, Bryce, both of us have our favorite versions, classic and modern, of A Christmas Carol. But to hear the perspective of people who are performing it. And I know that Julien Arnold in particular has done a number of different roles over a number of different years with the Citadel. So hearing some of his experiences, I'm really excited about that.
And it feels like, I'm sure you'll probably talk about like 90s TV shows, because I'm sure every show had a Christmas Carol theme style,
did.
Like especially with the ghosts of Christmas past and stuff.
Yeah, I'll bring this up during the next episode, but there was, I remember last Christmas watching a special Christmas version of, or Christmas Carol version of Family Ties.
Oh, of course.
Where Alex P. Keaton is visited by the three ghosts.
This is why I'm a little intimidated about with the actors here talking about, you know, the enduring qualities of A Christmas Carol, and then being like, but then also Mr. Magoo was. So we'll see how it goes.
It's a high-low.
Yeah, that is a pretty good version. All right, so let's get to our roundtable questions here before we wrap up. So let's say that younger you decided to take a different career path. Sheila, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
I would have studied harder for the LSAT and maybe passed it. Lawyer.
Camilla.
Oh, I was trying to think. I didn't have a lot of kind of aspirations as a child, now that I think about it in terms of career. I think the biggest one, though, I was very influenced by pop culture and what I watched on TV, because I watch TV a lot, but I really, really enjoyed the show MASH, and so it got in my head. I don't know, I guess I overlooked the more serious and sad episodes of, you know, Korean War and the toll it took on both the Koreans, of course, and the doctors, but I just liked the hijinks. So a part of it, I remember telling my mom, I'm like, I think I'm going to be a medical doctor. Like, I want to be in there with Hawkeye and Klinger. My mom's like, really? She's like, and I remember the sadder episodes, but I'm like, no, it's balanced out. They get into a lot of kind of fun hijinks. So I think I'll do that. And then, I was disabused of that pretty quickly. And I just don't have the stamina of any kind to be in the armed forces or even in the medical field. I just like to read about it. So so maybe that wouldn't be what I'd do, but so if in my heart of hearts, probably a veterinarian, you know, going back to animals, you know, maybe incorporate some type of reading program at the vet hospital.
Maybe working with snakes.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. I definitely know where not to leave them, so I'm already one leg up.
Caroline, how about you?
I similarly have no idea where I would be, other than geographically. I doubt I would be in Edmonton because I came out here to go to library school. So I probably would not be living in Edmonton. I'd likely be doing something with books, with writing, journalism maybe. But I didn't have a lot of well thought out plans.
Yeah, me neither.
Just kind of saw what happened and have ended up here. How about you, Bryce?
Probably journalism as well. Actually, I was supposed to start a journalism program and decided at the last minute not to. And yeah, stayed in marketing, and here we are. So yeah, journalism probably would have been mine, I think, if I had to go back and do something, or if it was kind of stuff played out a little bit differently, that's what I'd probably be doing.
Do you think there was like a sliding doors moment for you?
There 100% was
where
a
it's
sliding doors.
like last minute I go this way or I go that way.
Yeah.
Someone bumped into you on the way to apply for journalism school and you dropped all your papers.
Yeah, I got accepted, and about a week before I was supposed to start, I decided, no, I'd already gone to school, taken marketing, and I thought about kind of switching up careers, and yeah, at the last minute I was like, I'm gonna stick this out a little bit longer and see what happens.
Cut your hair in a great little bob.
That's
and,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking a British accent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. Okay, so similarly with our job kind of focus here, because we all work in the library, what was your very first job?
Very first job, actually, I was a sandwich artist at Subway.
Wow.
Yeah, I worked every Saturday. I was in junior high, grade 9. And this was before, just to give you an idea, I'll date myself. They just had white or brown bread, mustard, mayo, salt and pepper. Like, there was no fancy sauces, no fancy breads, just kind of the basics. But yeah, that was my first job. I still like Subway. I'll still eat it. So it didn't turn me off at all.
Do you still did the because I believe that there, from what I have seen on the windows at Subway, that there's an order to how you put a sandwich together. Has that influenced your later sandwich development?
Actually, no, it didn't. The only thing I remember, there was like this kind of at Subway, there was this back and forth about how to cut the bread. There was an era where it was like, I was part of the era where you would cut the bread, the top of the bread, almost as like a jack-o'-lantern style, like where the top kind of
like
came
a V
out.
kind of,
yeah, like a V to kind of capture all the food. And you never cut it like you normally would at home, where it was just straight kind of horizontal, right? And so you have two halves like that are completely flat. And then once I left, they changed it up and went to that more kind of standard, which they still do now. And I remember thinking like, wow, like they've really let themselves go. Because I was a huge V scooper outer of the bread cut, because it just kept everything in there. It kind of created like a little mini bread bowl. So. Yeah.
Wow. Well, if we ever do a sandwich episode, we are definitely bringing you back.
I could talk about sandwiches all day.
Yeah, this is good.
Sheila, first job.
Yes, first job that I got, like first real job that I got paid for. I was a tele-recruiter looking for volunteers for the Lung Association of Saskatchewan. Yeah.
Interesting.
And
I have some interesting stories from that.
Whatever. I'm just like I'm like, you know what? I'm so used to rejection, and like that was my first job. I was like brand new driver, like so coming into the city and like could drive and like so then I got a job and like phones slam down on me all the time. I'm like water off a duck's back. Like it doesn't matter to me. I get rejected all the time, which like really set me up for life, like which is really good. And I thought I was making bang. I was making $7.50 an hour. I was like, I am rolling in it. Like all these fools making $6.65, like because that was minimum wage in Saskatchewan at the time. I was like, I am making bank. Like I can wear my own clothes. Like I don't even have to wear a uniform. Like I don't come home like smelling like grease. I was like, I am killing it. Like I thought I was just making money. Like, anyway, like I've since done better for myself. Things have progressed. But yeah, that was.
Somebody's listening. I'm gonna make Sheila a job offer. I'm gonna match that telemarketer's salary.
Oh yeah, just try. I won't. But yeah, that was my first job. Yeah.
Nice.
What was your first job?
My very first job was working at a Burger King. was my very first job. I was totally like squeaky voice teenager in The Simpsons. Like, sorry, I dropped your burger. I remember I was working on, it was like the day before my 16th birthday. And I got a really bad grease burn. So, I had to like go to the emergency room and it was like late. And I remember the doctor saying, "Oh, happy birthday. Looks like you just turned 16. So, I had a really bad, actually the scarring's gone now. I used to have a really bad scar on my wrist from the grease burn. Oh, no. So at the time, minimum wage, I was making $4.50 an hour. Yeah. Also felt like I was rolling in. I was like,
Yeah, this is in Medicine Hat.
This is in Medicine Hat.
So like one of the kings of Medicine Hat.
Yeah, the Burger King.
That's right.
Wow.
Caroline, how about you? Very first job.
I grew up in a place that did not have fast food restaurants. So for a long time, my main job was babysitting, taking care of small children. I cannot say I was that good at it. And I think like my probably biggest misstep was when I accidentally let a 5-year-old watch the movie Resident Evil.
Accidentally.
But then she also, once we discovered what it was, she talked me into letting her continue to watch it because she promised she would not have bad dreams. She did have bad dreams, and then I was like, but you promised. So I was not the best, perhaps, at understanding children the way we do now, having worked in the library with a bit more exposure to them.
So how was it accidental? Like you thought it was like Resident Orphan Annie.
No. It was on TV, and I think I had been maybe cleaning up after dinner or something, and she came in and turned it on, and it was a calm moment when we first fought, and then I think something a part with like the dogs came out. It was the dogs, and then I was like, this is not for us, and then she started working on me, which
and like negotiating with you. I love that you're like, okay, as long as you don't have
as long as you don't, and then she did. And I was like, but you promised. So
she's now probably a very successful salesperson. Right?
Totally. Yeah, negotiator on there. So babysitting. I did a lot of that. So thank you both so much for joining us today. Sheila, I know we've talked about your podcast called Book Women. You told us about it. Where can people find it?
So the full title is Masnayagan Iskoyak. So I forgot to add that in. That's the Cree. It translates to book women, which is like the Cree word for librarian. So you can find us on bookwomen.ca. We are across many podcasting platforms.
Great.
And Camilla, is there anything happening at your branch that you think everyone should check out? Or is there maybe a past episode of Overdue Finds that you've worked on that you think maybe new listeners should go back and listen to?
Oh, I mean, all of them are so great. I really, just go through the backlog, get yourself on a road trip, plug in your iPhone, and just go through them all because they're all wonderful. And come visit us at Whitemud Crossing. We're a great branch in the southwest of the city. We do a lot of great early literacy programming, a lot of programming for kids because we have a lot of families in our area. So check us out.
Great. Leave your snake at home.
Yes, please do, of course.
But you can bring us pictures and show us your snake.
Leave all animals at home, but baked goods are always accepted.
Potatoes as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't, we encourage you to subscribe so that you automatically get new episodes. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love getting reviews. And more importantly, you can tell a friend about the show.
Yeah, and don't forget that we'll have a link to everything that we talked about in our show notes, including guest Sheila's podcast as well. So if you want to share your thoughts on this episode, please email us at podcast@epl.ca or hit us up on Twitter by using the hashtag EPL Overdue Finds. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.